Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of What the Dementia by Bambu Care. I'm your host, Brianna Wilson. I am a certified dementia practitioner and the founder of Bambu Care. So, from the title, you can probably tell that this podcast episode is going to be about friendships that have fallen to the wayside, why that may be, and what you can do about it. Now, before we get started, I did want to do just a little bit of housekeeping and some reminders. So, we do still have a few Grow with Gratitude journals left. Our Grow with Gratitude journal is a 100-day gratitude and self-care journal that was specifically designed for dementia care partners. It has over 100 self-care ideas, over 80 activity ideas that you can either do with your partner or by yourself, 4 habit trackers. There's inspirational quotes throughout, daily prompts, and daily tips specific to dementia care. There's also health check-ins, freestyle writing sections, and note sections, okay? So for those of you who may be interested, you can visit letsbamboo.com and click the shop tab. You'll see a couple of the pages that are in the journal as well as a full-blown description. Now, if you want to see more images, you can always visit our Instagram, which is instagram.com/growwithbamboo. I also wanted to remind you that we will be putting out 2 new free resources every month, and we've already posted January's freebies. So at the time of me recording this podcast, we have our Better Care ebook, Choosing a Quality Hospice Provider question sheet, our 30-day gratitude challenge, and our printable medication tracker that are all available to download. And so you can also find our free resources at letsbamboo.com, but this time you'll click on the resources tab. And then lastly, I want to remind you guys that our new dementia care book will be available really soon. And our new book is strongly based off the PANDA method, which is an intentional interaction framework that I actually created for adapting to, modifying, or eliminating challenging behaviors in persons with dementia. So stay tuned for that announcement. You definitely don't want to miss it, okay? Now, back to the topic at hand, the reason why you clicked on this episode. Where did all your friends go, right? So this topic can be relevant for both dementia care partners as well as persons living with dementia. But since I think that most of our listeners are dementia care partners, I'm going to focus in on the care partners for this episode, okay? Now, I do want to approach this episode as sensitively as I can while still keeping it real, okay? So if I by chance happen to say something offensive, please don't take it personal, okay? I am only here to help. So let's be honest, right now some of your friends may have you questioning whether they were ever real friends to begin with. And for some of you, this will be a harsh, no, probably not. And for others, it may be, and of course they were, and they probably still are. They just may not know how to best support and connect with you right now with where you are in your journey. But either way, it's okay, okay? So let's try to navigate what may be going on. So first, let's think about your friends before you became a dementia care partner. Who were they? How many of them did you have? What did y'all do, and what did y'all talk about? What role did they play in your life, and what role did you play in theirs? Did you hang out with these friends individually or as a group? How often did y'all talk, text, or hang out? I really want you to think long and hard about this, okay? So pause the episode if you have to, and even write it down. Then I want you to compare that to now. Do you still talk to any of these friends? What do y'all talk about? Do you still do things and hang out? If so, what does the frequency look like now? So some of you may notice that this looks drastically different, and this is something important that you have to keep in mind. When we become friends with people, it's usually because they contribute something to our lives and we contribute something to theirs. Now, what this something is can vary for everybody, okay? But when that something is no longer met, you will start seeing changes in your friendships, or they may disappear altogether. Now, something I think many of you can relate to is work, okay? So when you are working, there may be coworkers that you genuinely like and will talk to, but outside of work, you don't really talk, or if you do, it's usually venting about work or something. However, if one of you take a different job, or maybe even just get transferred to a different sector of the job, you guys may never speak again. Why? Likely because you both served the role you needed to given the circumstance. But now that the circumstance has changed, the role is no longer needed. Now, does this mean that you guys didn't actually like each other or weren't really friends when it came to the work environment? No, not necessarily. It just means that the something that you were contributing to one another has faded or changed. That point of connection is gone. Okay, so let's apply this to your other friendships, the ones that probably have you feeling pretty crappy right about now, the ones that you actually care that have changed or you feel you have lost. So, when I asked you to identify your friends and what y'all used to do compared to now, what came up? Did you in fact notice how different y'all's interactions are now? So, if y'all went from talking about, I don't know what people talk about, and I'm kind of weird, so I can't really use myself as an example, but let's say politics and entertainment, whatever your shared interests were. But now, all you want to talk about is your dementia care partner and how stressful it is being a caregiver and how something your partner did make you feel a certain type of way. This may have now broken that something, especially if y'all never talk about the things that you used to. Now, many of you may be thinking, well, I want someone to talk about my problems to. This isn't an easy journey, and my friends should be willing to listen. Yes, that's true, and most are willing to listen, but everyone kind of has their threshold. There has to be balance, and some may have difficulty adjusting, especially if they never really played that role for you. Now, unfortunately, misery does love company, and I'm super guilty of this, but the company doesn't always want to deal with the misery. Do you get what I mean? Unfortunately, nobody wants to listen to someone complain all the time every time they talk to them, especially if that's not how the relationship used to be. Now, some of us do have that friend that we can moan and groan to about any and everything all the time, and they moan and groan back, and that's just the dynamic of the relationship. But we have to realize that all of our friends may not be like that. That may not be the role that we play for each other. And if we're being honest, if that is the case, it can kind of sour things for the other person, and unfortunately, most people don't really know how to respond to most people's issues, anyways. So it can just be kind of awkward for the other person if this ends up being the primary topic of conversation. But the thing is, oftentimes when we're going through something that's heavy and kind of consuming some of us, we want to share it with anyone who will listen. And as sucky as this may sound, that's where we kind of mess up. Not everyone wants to hear it. Again, like I said, especially not all the time, okay? Now, other things that may push your friends away or push you away from your friends may be secret or not so secret resentment. So, saying things like, must be nice. I wish I could do that. You have no idea how lucky you are. Or just getting annoyed with them because they always ask how your partner living with dementia is, but they never ask how you are. Or always saying no when your friends invite you somewhere, but not making it known that you want them to still keep asking. Or feeling like your friends just don't get it, which may change your interactions with them. Or expecting your friends to call or message you first, especially if that's never been the dynamic. Sometimes when we're going through things, we expect other people to just reach out to us and ask us how we're doing, and when they don't, we feel some type of way. But we do know that the phone works both ways, right? So, when's the last time that you called your friend to see how they were doing? We all have our little battles that we're fighting. They may just look different. Now, in a perfect world, we would all be able to anticipate the needs of our friends and act on it 100% of the time, but unfortunately, this is not the case. So, with that being said, don't just sit around and wait for your friend to call you. Call them. Don't wait for your friend to text you. Text them first. And don't wait for your friend to always invite you somewhere. Invite them somewhere. Now, if you are trying to hold up your side of the friendship and trying to find ways to keep in touch and connect with your friends, but they're still ignoring your phone calls or not returning your calls or not texting you back, maybe blowing off your suggestions and willingness to fit hanging out with them into your schedule, then honestly, as much as I hate to say it, these probably aren't the friends you want to keep around anyways, right? I mean, that can get exhausting. And being a dementia care partner can be exhausting enough. So, no need to add to it. But my point is, we can't just sit around hoping that our friends will reach out to us, and then when they don't, feel some type of way, even though we've never made an effort to reach out to them. Okay? So, after listening to this podcast, you may already have formulated some ideas on what you need to do to rekindle the fire in your friendships. But if not, the biggest thing that you need to do is limit your excuses not to connect, communicate and be honest, let them know your expectations and how you're feeling about the current status of y'all's friendships, and then be willing to listen to their feedback and how they feel, okay? Remember, a friendship has to go both ways. Of course, you expect them to do their part, but you also have to do yours, okay? And it really is amazing what two friends can figure out to make their relationship work when they actually take the time to communicate and do so. But again, if I'm being honest, some people just suck. Not necessarily intentionally, but they still suck nonetheless. And like I said before, if you're trying to hold up your side of the friendship and the other person is just not even trying, let it go. Join a support group and find new friends. Like I said, caregiving gets lonely, and there's no one who understands the journey better than someone who's going through it or who has already gone through it. So don't just sit around feeling lonely and abandoned. Reach out and find people to connect with, okay? So that's all I have for this episode. As I always say, I really do hope this podcast was informative and that you learned something of value that will help you find those friends of yours or even discover new ones. If anyone has any questions, comments, or future podcast requests, you can send us an email at podcast@whatthedementia.com. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of What the Dementia by Bambu Care. We look forward to catching you on the next episode. Take care, and until next time, stay strong, care on, and remember, you are not alone. Bambu Care is always here.